Good.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and please remain standing for the invocation by Reverend Ken Carpinelli. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Almighty God, watch over the members here of the council, grant them wisdom, knowledge, and the opportunity to be able to look towards creating and forming and establishing a great union of opportunity for the people here in Gloucester Township. I also wish to pray for the fact that 21 years ago, we had a tragedy in this country. I ask, Lord, that you would watch over the families of those who were impacted and affected by the attacks on 9/11. All the people who had to rebuild not just their lives, but their hope. Please, Lord, continue to watch over this community. Help us to grow together as the United States did on September 12th back then. I ask for all these things and for knowing that you will give us what we need. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Good evening, everyone. This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the schedule of meetings of the Township Council established and adopted by Township Council, which scheduled as neither time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. We are using electronic amplifying and recording device in order to obtain a clear and audible record. And we request all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly to the microphone. The recording device will be still utilized by the Township Clerk's office for the preparation of minutes. It shall be the official record of the Township Council meetings. Madam Clerk, ma'am, the roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchinson.
Present.
Ms. Grace.
She had a work commitment this evening.
Mr. Mignon.
Here.
Mrs. Stubbs. Mrs. Winters. Here. Mrs. Strada. Here. Mr. Ricardo.
Present.
Mr. Carlemare.
Here.
Mr. Cardis.
Here.
Chief Harkins.
Here.
Mr. Chilwell.
He notified us that he would not be here this evening. Thank you. We'll now open up the first public portion. This is for agenda items only. Each speaker is entitled to 3 minutes. There is a 15-minute time period for the public portion. Once all those wishing to address council have had their turns, they may speak a second time if there is time remaining. Does anyone like to speak on agenda items only? Mr. Burns.
Good evening, Council. Brian Burns of Smallwood and Ariel.
Good evening. How are you, Brian?
Good. I read the agenda about the pickleball court, and apparently it's going to go over 44,000. You guys have like a cutoff at which you will not spend above. I'm just curious what this thing's going to cost.
That 44 is the max for advertising and bids, not to exceed 44.
Correct. Okay, so it'd be 44.
Not to exceed 44.
Okay. I mean, I'm not a pickleball person.
Neither am I.
The first thing that hit me is that taxes were just raised, and yet there's money for a pickleball court, unless it's not coming from taxpayer money, it's coming from some other source. Is it coming out of the general funds,
Not capital.
capital improvements?
Estimate
believe it was around between 200 and 250,000. It's actually 6 courts.
I don't know how many people play it, but in these times with tight budgets and taxes being raised, I don't think the optics are real good. You know, it's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the first public portion. Waive the reading and accept the minutes of August 8th, 2022 and August 22nd, 2022. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison,
I'll abstain on August 8th and yes on August 22nd.
Mr. Manure,
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs,
I abstain from August 8th and August 22nd.
Mrs. Winters,
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada,
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes to August 8th, and I abstain on the 22nd. I was away on vacation. Ordinance, this will be a first reading and introduction. A hearing will be held after the second reading. Ordinance 0-22-13, ordinance amending Chapter 81 in the Code of the Township of Gloucester entitled Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of Township of Gloucester. This allows for the regulation of movement and the parking of traffic on this municipal property. This is the main stage center for the Arts parking lot, 27 Black Forest Pike. What is added to it on section 3, the towaway part, is that additionally any vehicle parked between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. may be removed by towing the vehicle at the owner or operator's expense. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Winters. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison,
Yes.
Mr. Manure,
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs, yes. Mrs. Winters, yes. Mrs. Estrada,
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Next is our consent agenda. Any council member that would like to have any of the items removed, please speak up. Hearing none, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. Second. Thank you, Mr. Mignot. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison,
Yes.
Mr. Manure,
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs,
Yes.
Mrs. Winters,
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada,
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. We did not receive any GTE Gov access emails. We're now open up the second public portion. This is for any item that the public chooses to address. Each speaker is entitled to 5 minutes. There's a 30-minute maximum for our public portion, second public portion. Does anyone wish to speak? Ms. Shaughnessy, Ms. Smithman, excuse me.
Hello, good evening. My name is Shaughnessy Smithman. I reside in the SDK Millbridge Gardens apartment complex
Good evening.
in apartment 341. It's located on Millbrook Court. There's been a lot of complications with my address. It's a Clementon zip code, although I am told that I attend the Gloucester Township City Council meetings, as well as utilize their police department. And strangely, the Shoes Landing Fire Department is the district, I'm told. Good evening. First, if I could say thank you to all the members, whether you are here or not. I know that it's very difficult to participate with people in general, let alone an entire community. It has never been a gripe of mine for attendance, even though I am a regular employee when I work and early, until I just can't anymore. So I have a pretty large understanding when that's not possible. So thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
On Blackwood, Clementon Road and Kelly Drivers Road in the Commerce One Plaza, there is a store called the Dollar General that recently opened within the past 5 years. The families run in cycles, I've noticed over the 45 years of my life. Every 5, 7, and 20 some years, things will cycle out, and then there'll be another cluster of children growing up in an area. The La Cascada, from what I understand, used to be a new townhome area. It's now probably most likely rented out. It's used as rentals to people starting families. Renting is different than owning homes. The families are at a different, nobody's different. It's a different atmosphere. My parents worked and owned a home. We all owned the home and we were in the street, but it was dirt road. when I was growing up. We had a corner store and there was no through traffic. I really don't know how more people did not get hit by a car, but very sadly, 2 people did. Stacy Leahy's little brother, and then there was a little boy over on Sunset. Somebody threw his book bag into the street while they were waiting for the school bus. While they're not waiting for the school bus here, kids are going to go to that store. That's their general store. That's their corner store. It's more affordable than any of the other stores. They're going to go there. Their parents are going to send them there. If it's at all possible for us to get a traffic light to a pedestrian walk, to walk the children from the eastbound side or the east side of Kelly Drivers Road across to one of the side entrances into the Commerce Plaza. Is that something that can be considered? They have them now. They're a little fancy. You just push the button and lights flash, and then they can cross the street. It keeps them further away from the intersection. So if they're riding their bicycle, as an adult riding my bicycle, when you push the button and it indicates to walk, by the time I get from the corner to the intersection, my bicycle is faster than the car's eyes. They almost hit me because they come out of the lot, they hit the gas, they don't see the blind spot. And children are much faster and smaller, closer to the ground, and their bikes are dirtier. They blend that more with the earth. They're not going to be seen.
Ms. Smith, are you requesting a stoplight or a cross?
A pedestrian walkway to get the children.
Pedestrian walkway that has the lights that light up.
Anything. Is anything to be considered that since that store opened, it has been there for several years. The parents that were here before, they're going to start to shop there more. It's more familiar to the children. They're focused on what children focus on, candy and toys to get to the store. Do they have enough? Right down to the penny. Do they have enough to buy it? They're not looking out for cars. And cars are going in. There's a bank in that parking lot and a coffee. So people are going there without caffeine. And who knows what's going on with their bank accounts, but it's not exactly anything that leaves your mind open for driving and paying attention to children riding their bikes or walking. I'm still very interested in the signs also on all the street signs on the side of each post to have a label, anything indicating the local police department and the local fire department that serves that area. If you can identify them both, one with the picture for people that cannot read or speak the language so they know what it is, whether it's a fire department or a police department. If you could put it in raised or recessed writing in Braille for people that are blind and at wheelchair height for children and people that are closer to the ground. And one third item, if I could, if anybody has purchased any duplicated type of copyrighted material, movies, music, recipes, whatever it may be, if it becomes available in this town, if you could agree to it, just make it available for anyone to pay the fines and penalties in however form they come, just make the technology available to them. I think that you have a lot of really decent people in this town that would do that if given the opportunity and shown how to do it. If the money is not demanded in a large amount, they could do it as they have it and still allow them to have other things. I think that it might be acceptable, that people might actually.
Well, thank you, Ms. Smith, for your comments. The last two parts you brought, we discussed that at several meetings beforehand, and it's not something that we're interested in doing. The pedestrian crosswalk, that's something I'll discuss with the municipal engineer and also Mr. Cardis. But also, I would imagine that's based on traffic studies as well. Correct, Chief?
That is correct. The process will be, we would conduct the study, but it would really take, we would have to pay for an engineering study by the township engineer to see if it was worthy or not, and if it fit into, I'm not sure it does, that area, the way that road is running,
Yeah.
the municipal, uniform traffic control design, which is the engineering book for the state of New Jersey of where even traffic signs and these types of devices go. It's the engineering guidebook, Bible, if you will.
Oh, then
I'll have an update for you.
If
Thank
they
you,
can't have a-
Ms. Smithman, I'm sorry. If
reflectors.
we have more time, we'll have you come back up. Is there anyone else? Mr. Polidoro?
Good evening, council. Ray Polidoro from the Historic Village of Ariel. Every so often, I'd like to say thank you to council for keeping our invocations on board. It was special today to hear the things that we need to remember and things that we praise. And thank you for continuing that process where some towns have not. Tonight, you on the consent agenda 2209-259 was doing some work on some playgrounds, some money being used from the trust fund. I briefed through it. I have to be honest, I did not read thoroughly all through it. Were there targeted playgrounds within the township that you guys had in mind that are in need? Are we looking to upgrade from premium to exquisite, or are we just taking some spots that don't have a playground and bringing them up to satisfaction like we did in Brittany Woods and areas like that?
Well, resolution 258, that's for improvements to Hickstown or Gloucester Township Community Park, whatever you like to call it. And 259, Tom, have you earmarked, we have multiple indicated multiple areas. Are there a list or you earmark?
I'm not sure on this one, to be honest with you. I believe it's going towards a specific playground, but I'm not sure which one.
Okay.
Okay.
If you could provide that for us, I'd appreciate it. But, you know, and you have multiple, because there is improvements that can be made. You can go to any neighborhood, Server Jokes, you can go to Mulberry Station. Those are things
And
that
there too
are in need of improvement.
now.
Okay. In the past, we have, and we've spoken on this, you've constantly put the cart before the horse. You borrow money and then you get grant money behind it. You know, do we finally have the horse in front of the cart this time?
Well, we had to put money in the capital because we were initially rejected for the applications. And we resubmitted the applications, whether we get rejected or not, I don't know. So.
I get that.
In order to make the promise, which is to do Sturbridge Oaks and Mulberry Station, we needed to put that in capital.
Gotcha. And amongst those capital things, and as we do understand, capital money in one way, shape, or form is taxpayer money. About 11 years ago, when Len Moffett was the head of Public Works, I'd asked our street in the southern end in the wonderful village of Ariel if I could have our street redone. We have one inch thick asphalt sitting on sugar sand, which has been busted up since the 70s, since it was built. I thought at some point, he said that it was an 8-year waiting list. 11 years ago, that has come and passed. They have done the middle of Highland, but they didn't do both ends. And it would be nice if they could finish that job. The signs are already up boasting the capital funds that have taken care of that. But you got two ends of that street that are same 1972, 1 inch thick asphalt sitting on loose sugar sand. And when you get a torrential downpour, our street becomes beachfront property as the sugar sand comes up through the cracked asphalt from one end to the other. If maybe we could get the rest of those done. If there's capital money to do so, it would be greatly appreciated. Or if, as I've asked in the past, Gloucester Township could take the step of seeking transportation trust fund money, which we all pay in our gasoline tax, which according to Remington and Vernick, I think in the last 3 years, we've only asked for those funds one time. It'd be nice to see not just our tax dollars at work, but our gasoline tax dollars at work. Locally here, if you guys have been to Gloucester County, you will see the roads have all been repaved. Pitt in Washington Township, Winona, everything's painted. They're highlighting with the new lime green pedestrian and bike areas. Gloucester County looks nice. You come into Camden County, you're going to wind up going to a repair shop at some point to get your front end redone. It'd be nice if we could be a little bit up to date. Let's ask for that money and get some of our local roads done.
We receive it every year. Money is asked for every year, and Mr. Chadwell has told you that on several occasions, Ray.
But
There's an
he
application
said
made.
once, Gloucester County looks real good. We don't. Let me make my last point then, because my time is running out. And if you'd like, please address that. Through the years, we've been coming to council meeting. I've attended some planning board meetings and zoning board meetings. Throughout the times I've entered this building, the only time that I have to come to a metal detector is council meetings. Could you tell me if that has outlived its usefulness, or is there a fear that the council meeting and council members have that the planning board and zoning doesn't have, where we are not seeing that? I'm not quite sure if there's a reason that is still needed, if there's a reason for protection that you guys are seeking.
I'm gonna defer to the police chief.
Yeah, it's on my recommendation, and we evaluate every zoning and planning board. There's costs involved with bringing personnel and whatnot, having staff here and whatnot. So we're constantly evaluating. As a matter of fact, I'm recommending through the administration that, a full security check will be done at this upcoming planning board meeting based on, information and consultation with the administration.
So let me just be clear, are you advocating to do away with it or keep it?
I'm asking council why it's only there for council meetings and
Okay.
to the best of my memory,
So
come
we
the other
should do it
meetings.
for all three of those meetings.
Or what is the reason that it is here for council meetings? I'm asking you to answer the questions that I put forth. Address it if you will. Thank you.
It should be for all. Thank you. Ms. Hendry.
Good evening, Dina Hendry, Summerdale.
Good evening.
Good evening. Wanted to see if from the last meeting, I know Orlando, you were on vacation, but I had brought up attendance for the council, and it was said that they would discuss with you about attendance for the council members. So therefore, the residents of Gloucester Township would have the deserving working board, as well as you guys having a full board, instead of having somebody only being present for 36% of the meetings in the past 2 years.
I have had conversations with that council member over the last few years. I'm comfortable with the reasons that she has not been able to attend. And she is here tonight. If you want to ask her any questions, I'm sure she'll be more than welcome to answer those questions.
Okay. That's great that you're comfortable with it, but I don't think the people, the residents, the taxpayers, if they fully knew that people that they have elected to sit on this council have only attended 30%, 36% of the meetings when they were voted to be here at least, I would say 80% of the time. You're getting paid to be here. You're getting our tax dollars to be here. So if you can't be here because of possibly an illness or other circumstances, more repetition, more like missing 4 meetings, 6 meetings in a row, then I would believe that the board should come together and say something has to be done. There should be something in the bylaws that states if you miss 3 meetings in a row, there's a possibility that you're not here. It's not fair for their citizens to have only a partial council when you guys are getting paid to be here.
Again, I've spoken to Mrs. Stubbs regarding her absences over the last few years. I'm comfortable with her explanation. Mrs. Stubbs, you say what?
So
May I finish?
Go ahead.
You said the residents, Mrs. Stubbs was elected twice to serve here. And when you talk about bylaws and what are you looking for us to remove Mrs. Stubbs?
Whether it's Mrs. Stubbs, because she's the topic of conversation right now, or anybody down the road. What I'm saying is, as an employer, right? As an employer, if I had an employee that was only here 30%, 36% of the time, I don't think they're an effective person. I don't think they're bringing any value to the team. I mean, would you have somebody on your team only showing up 36% of the time?
If there are circumstances that preclude them from being here, and you say as an employer,
There's FMLA, and that's 6 weeks.
If I can finish.
Go ahead.
Mrs. Stubbs, again, was elected by the people of Gloucester Township. And just to remind folks, she was the second highest vote getter in the last election and the highest vote getter in her primary. So there are people in this town that had voted for her to serve here and serve the residents. And when Mrs. Stubbs, and I don't want to speak for her, but if Mrs. Stubbs feels she can no longer serve those residents, then she will indicate that. Mrs. Stubbs has been a member of this community for many, many years in many capacities. So Again, I am comfortable with her explanations, and Mrs. Stubbs wants to answer or respond to anything she can, but that is.
So I need to reclaim my time because I only have a minute and 5 minutes. I can
Ms.
reclaim my
Henry,
time.
Ms. Henry,
Can I
you asked
reclaim
me-
my time?
Ms. Henry, you asked me a question.
Okay, but I need to
Respond.
reclaim my
Ms.
time because I
Henry,
only have 57
Ms. Henry,
seconds.
this is not how it works. You asked me a question and you want a response. If you want 5 minutes of just speaking, then we won't respond.
Okay,
Is that what you want?
Is that what you want?
I just want to be mindful because there's other people that want to speak.
Okay, continue.
So what I'm just saying is, I think there has to be some sort of consideration because the general public, yes, she might have been the highest vote getter, but when people are listening and seeing that, wait a second, we have a council person that's not here, not being represented for the people are like, wait a second, that's not fair. I mean, I don't understand how you guys can be okay with that. Go ahead.
Thank you. Again, she has explained to me the reasons she has not been able to attend, and I'm comfortable with that.
So what are the reasons?
Is that a question that?
Yes, what are the reasons? Why do you miss so many meetings?
So can I respond?
Go ahead.
A few meetings back, Ms. Stubbs, after working on the budget, opted to vote no. At that meeting, she was praised for doing her job and for speaking up. Today, I was reminded of another opportunity where Ms. Stubbs commented about a housing plan that was seen by her possibly as alienating a group of people. So she does her job. She fills a vital role. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hendry. Mr. Burns?
Good evening again, Council. Brian Burns, Longwood Drive aerial. I noticed Mr. Petrangelo is not here tonight. Is he required to be here, expected to be here, as was Mr. Lechner?
There are times that I request for his attendance. There are certain matters that are planning board related or redevelopment type things. I think over the next few meetings, we'll probably tend to see him a little bit more.
Mr. Lechner was here every council meeting. So things have changed?
Mr. Petrangelo works for an engineering firm. He's our consultant. He is not a full-time employee of the township.
Okay, so let me proceed with what I'm getting at here. I was hoping Mr. Petrangelo would be here. With regard to the Rossi, which Triad is working on with Jake Botticello. Miss Mary, Dottie Mary reached out to me regarding what is going on with her property, since I was instrumental in facilitating the council's interest in preserving her property. And I said, I really don't have an answer for you, reach out to Jake. So she reached out to Jake, and after speaking with Jake, Miss Murray responded to me with this conversation. I had a great conversation with Jake. They had a big speed bump as the 10-year Rossi forms were never completed by the township for the state. So they are about to be submitted and should have approval in October. He's hoping to close on our property by the end of the year or January. So let me preface my next comment by saying I was an excellent teacher for 37 years. I was given Teacher of the Year twice. I have accolades from A to Z and so on. And during my 37 years, I dropped the ball a few times. We all do. No one's perfect. So I think council should recognize that with regarding the Rossi and Green Acres, the ball was dropped. And I hope that, this is kind of a learning lesson, because whenever I screwed up at work and I dropped the ball, I never did that again. So here we are with Miss Murray. Her contract is actually expired now that she signed with the township. And Jake is saying, he's going to settle, by the end of the year or January. To me, I think that's overly optimistic. So my point is, I think council should recognize that, this Green Acres process, there's been some flaws in it and some drop balls. And we should really, pick up the pieces and say, let's not do this again. I believe it's up to Triad and Mr. Petrangelo to carry through, with the necessary procedures with the state of New Jersey. So Nancy Lawrence, who is in charge of enforcement and compliance with Green Acres, wrote to me saying that the township will get no more money until these ROSIs are completed. So like I said, I'm not throwing mud at anybody. I'm just saying everybody makes mistakes. The ball was dropped here. And, let's not drop the ball again. Let's get these things done. Let's get them approved. I realize that once it goes over the Green Acres, you don't have control over Green Acres, but we certainly have control over those items that we are responsible for. Would council be willing to recognize that, we dropped the ball in the past?
If we drop the ball, we need to make sure we don't drop the ball again.
Exactly.
But if, I don't know.
Well, according to Jake, it didn't.
Well, Mr.
Never had that conversation with you.
Mr. Cardis, can you get an update on the Rossi with Jake from Triad and also Mr. Petrangelo? Is there anything else, Mr. Burns?
No, that's all. It's just, let's get it out in the open. If we drop the ball, I drop the ball. Everybody drops the ball. But let's learn from the experience and keep the process going so that, people aren't waiting around years like it did with the Rosalind Bridge, although that was an exceptional case. There was a lot of different variables and hurdles along with that. But these ones here should go straight through. And I really don't know if Jake or Mr. Petrangelo are even aware of the Office of Natural Resource Restoration that's going to pay the additional 25% after Green Acres pays their 75%. So again, it's two properties, 100% paid for, from funds not associated with taxpayers. So just putting it out there, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Smithman? No, I'm sorry. Gentleman here, Ms. Smithman, you already spoke. I'm sorry about that, sir.
Good evening, Council. Barry Salvatore, Hickstown Road, Sicklerville.
Good evening, Mr. Salvatore.
First, let me thank you for your time to come up and speak. I am unfortunately going to be a little repetitive about what I've spoken on in the past few meetings first, and that is Hickstown Road across from the landfill. I still have not heard from the DEP yet. I did send them a letter. I unfortunately have had family issues and have not been able to pester Nancy for the past few weeks, but I'm back. And I'm just trying to find out what it is that they're doing. They've cleared and driven in with backhoes and dug test holes. I don't know for what. So again, I'm just trying to find that out. So any help I can get from anybody would be greatly appreciated, because again, the DEP has not responded to my letters.
Mr. Salvatore, who did you send that to in the DEP? Do you have a name?
There was no name. It was just to DEP, and it was attention for Gloucester Township. I guess they have someone who handles each area in the counties. I don't know.
Tom, would you happen to have a contact in DEP?
Off the top of my head,
Maybe you can speak to it.
I would suggest Assemblywoman Mascara's office, Senator Madden's office. I've had some good time. They'll be able to get your contacts.
And I would also say Mr. Chadwell as well, to dig deep, because this has been going on for a couple of months now, correct?
Yes, sir. And, again, it's 200 feet as I was notified of. So I just want to find out about that. To go back to something that we spoke of on the previous agenda. So thank you very much for your attention to that. We were talking about pickleball courts. I have no idea what pickleball is, but we were talking about $44,000. Right, $44,000. That's per court. And I believe Mr. Cardis said 6 courts. And
the total project is 6 courts at $200,000.
right, so it's not a $44,000 budget. It's a $250 or
No.
Threshold.
That's for the bid threshold.
okay. I just want to understand. I just want to understand so that I'm not ignorant to
No.
asking questions.
Rewind it back. So explain what the bid threshold is of $44,000. We go out to bid.
6,600 and above, you need 2 quotes. up to 44,000. Once you exceed 44,000, you have to put it out for a bid or an RFP, RFQ.
Okay. As we're talking about parks and improvements, they've just recently listed the land across from Camden County College, St. Pius Retreat, 140 acres, 27 acres is for the old homestead that was there, and then 113 acres is separate from that, 200, and I was just looking at that. So if you're looking at parks and maybe preserving, I know we have a great desire in this township to bring more industry into this town, but that is zoned institutional. It's not industrial, it's not commercial, it is zoned institutional, whatever institutional means, senior homes or something like that. But maybe we could look at trying to acquire something like that to give us a little more land preserve in the town. It's adjacent to the park that is absolutely beautiful, I think. Maybe we could look at pickleball courts there. Maybe we could look at the BMX track there and still preserve some land that has a lot of water on it. And it's next to a landfill.
And Barry, you said it was just listed?
There was a sign put on that property 2 weeks ago. It's CBRE out of Philadelphia. I have actually spoken to them, kind of like I was looking to purchase it when the man told me $7 million is what the company has invested in. I kind of choked and laughed, especially because you'd have to have a heck of a lot of beds in a senior home to support a $7 million purchase.
Because correct me if I'm, RCA purchased that property.
Recovery Centers of America,
Yeah.
it is now listed for sale. There is no asking price. They are honoring
2015
offers.
when that property was
Correct.
sold.
With roughly $58,000 a year in property taxes between both parcels of land. The 113 acres is $232 a year, and the 27 acres is roughly $58,000 a year. But if we're looking for parks and BMX tracks and things like that, there's a lot of clear land and some hills to give the kids the whoop-de-doos and things that they want on that land. I used to ride a little. So that's it. I don't want to beat a dead horse. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you very much. That concludes our public portion. Polling of directors.
Mr. Carlemere?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Curtis?
Nothing to report.
Chief Harkins?
Just, school started, we're in full swing. I want to thank the community. We had almost, I think it was over 100 backpacks that were donated, that we collected through the police department and other, and that we were able to supply to the school district for those that were in need. So that was a very good way of getting the school year started off. Just remind people about school buses and driving around school buses, a constant complaint. We have special enforcement details that are looking for school bus enforcement, meaning don't pass the school bus, look for the lights flashing. So we're off to a good start this year, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Hutchinson?
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Great, did I talk loud enough? Thank you.
Mr. Minio?
Everybody have a great night, be safe, have a great week. Thank you.
Mrs. Stubbs?
Have a great evening, drive safe.
Mrs. Winters?
Or let people know that the, October 2nd, when they have the pumpkin festival, the caboose, on the bike path is open, that you can go in and visit and see inside of that, just if anyone is interested in looking there.
Mrs. Strato?
Thank you and have a good week.
Mr. Mercado?
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. I want to thank the Chiefs Fire Department along with the Gloucester Township Police Department for commemorating 9/11. Thank you, Mr. Mignon, for attending. I was a liturgist that day, so I couldn't skip out in church. But thank you for representing council there, and also to the ministerium for the event they had last evening at 7 o'clock, again commemorating the victims of 9/11. There are a lot of events that are taking place in the upcoming weeks. There's a drive-in theater movie that's taking place at Camden County College on September 25th, I believe it's Saturday, September 25th. Then followed by the Pumpkin Festival, which, September 24th is that drive-in movie. And then we have the Pumpkin Festival on the 2nd of October, so this is appreciation on October 8th, followed by the Food and Truck Festival on the 22nd. Trunk or Treat returns to Veterans Parks. All of these things that unfortunately we had to do away with the last few years have now are up and running and will be taking place. And look forward to seeing all of you there at those events. With that, I entertain the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you again. Good to have you, brother. Yeah. See you.